Hello VRay users, Alexei VRay Guide. Today we're gonna talk about wood texture. As you can see here, I've made some tests, and with lighting also tests and reflection tests. So I want to show you how you can set up in a very easy way your wood texture with VRay and 3ds Max. Alright, so let's do a basic render to see where we start. It's just a geometrical form, as we can see here, of wood. I'm using just VRay Sun and some VRay ambient light, VRay dome light with HDRI image in it, just in order to get really nice looking soft shadows and more realistic looking illumination to my upcoming future wood texture. Alright, so basic box, nothing fancy, and so you'll see I have VRay plane, sky dome, and VRay sun with a very low intensity. So I'm gonna let you download this scene so you can check out my rendering settings. I'm not gonna really go into depth in explaining, but just so you know, I'm using brute force and light cache pretty high just to get really nice quality for that image. Alright, so the light cache actually is very high. It's supposed to be 400 just to get faster rendering results. And as you can see here, I'm also using 12 buckets width. So my buckets are small and they run fast. And this is what gives me a little bit faster rendering results. Okay, so I'm gonna click C, go back to my camera, and start working on my wood. So first thing first, I need to select my wood object here without the plane and apply a texture. I'm gonna use this VRay material shortcut and call it wood. Let's call it wood 1 because we're gonna duplicate it in order to give different types of wood, different colors to wood. So here in the view slot, I'm going to load the texture that I got from this amazing website, CD Textures. As you can see here, they updated it, and it's the smaller resolutions are for free. The bigger resolutions probably for premium members, but you can join for free. And if you go here and scroll down and click on a fine wood, you can find a lot of wood textures with really good quality. Some of them are not seamless. Mine actually was seamless, and if you type here seamless wood, probably get a lot of results of those different seamless woods that you can download. Right, so I got this guy right here, pretty good quality texture. When I downloaded it, it was about 6,000 pixels, so that's pretty big. And as you see here, I have two versions because one was very saturated. I opened it up in Photoshop, reduced the saturation a little bit. So this is my basic wood right here with a really good quality. Now you don't really need to use 6,000 unless you do close-ups. Big textures eat a lot of RAM. I'm gonna use it as it is, but if I would use it in a project, I would probably reduce the size to about 2048 and make it seamless, or yeah, about 2000 pixels, because 6000 pixels is too much. Now next thing is, you can see I'm using use real world parameters, and here I can set up my wood. So first I need to apply it, and then I need to click show materials, and of course click F3 in order to show this whole thing. Now in order to view this properly, I need to apply UVW mapping with the box and real world parameters tweaked on. As you can see, those real world parameters, two ticks here, being applied automatically because I've set up my preferences to use real-world texture coordinates. So that's a tweak right here. And after doing that, I can start playing with numbers. So this is about 300, probably by 100. So if we put 300 by 100, we'll get nice aligned texture. Let me click P and go into the preview mode. It's the best way to view this in a large scale mode. All right, so very important to have your texture properly lined up and to have a proper direction for your texture. This is one of the most important things. And if it's a side ones, they're gonna be looking something like that. All right, so after applying this, I need to add some color correction to my map. So I'm going to keep my old map, click back the show texture, and now if I change this one here, I can actually change my texture colorization. So in order to give variation to wood always will have that sort of variation. So with the color correction, I don't use lightness of standard because it kind of screws it up. I'm using advanced. Advanced is a little bit more profound. So for this one, I'm actually going to leave it as it is. The only thing that I'm going to do to this texture is lower the blur. That way I'm going to get nice sharp results. So somewhere between 0.3, 0.2 will give you really nice sharp results. Now after doing this, I can take my texture and duplicate it, put it on reflection. And the best way, of course, is to do instance, but I need to change it a little bit so I will not get that crisp reflection. So I'm going to put copy, and I'm also going to change the saturation here. I'm going to reduce it because I don't want to have any color in my reflections of the wood. In order to work it in a proper way, I need to reduce that. And I'm going to show background, and here I'm going to reduce the reflection glossiness to about 0.45, and the highlights glossiness, it's the highlights around the gloss, the glossy reflections, I'm going to put to about 0.7, somewhere there, or maybe 0.75. Alright, if I need to smooth it out, I'm going to smooth it out. Refraction subdivs, I'm going to put 2, and the regular subdivs, I'm going to leave it as it is, 0.8. So this is the basic setup. I'm not really going to touch anything. We can do much more complicated textures with more layers and more advanced mixes, but today I just want to cover the basic texture and the basic parameters. So we need to have one reflection for the map. Same goes to the bump. We're going to use the same map and we're going to put it in the bump. Of course on the copy mode, because for the bump I don't really need to have really low blur effect. This might give me too much crispiness to my wood. If I go 1, it will give me very crispy look, and I might get something that's called snow in textures, those little specks that coming from crispy bump. So I'm gonna increase it a little bit, somewhere maybe 0.5, somewhere there, so it will not be that crisp. It still will be, you know, it still will give me nice, whoops, nice bump, but I will avoid any snow effects in the texture. And of course I can lower it down a little bit so I will not get unrealistic results. Alright, now after doing this, we can go ahead. I'm gonna click C and go to my camera view, and let's click render, see what we get. Alright, so this is what we've got so far. The wood looks properly aligned, but something doesn't really look convincing in the reflections. The way this side that's been away from the sun is reflecting looks like maybe it's a little bit too much of reflection. And the only thing that we can do is to test this by adding a sphere, a light sphere, and testing it with some light. So we're gonna add a sphere, 10 centimeters. Gonna put it on the side here, and we're gonna go and take VRay light material. Whoops, VRay light material, and give it amount of 10 so it will spread more light, and apply this to this sphere. Okay, now we can go back to our camera, and we're going to select the region render because we don't really need to render the whole thing again, and just render this part and see how our wood reacts. It's always essential thing to test your textures with. Throw some lights, throw some shiny balls, and see how it reflects. Of course, you gotta have good references that will show you what you need to fix in order to get it working, but generally speaking, it's a good way to test any material. Just bring a little sphere of light and make a little region test render and see how it works. Alright, and I can surely say that this reflection is a little bit too strong here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my high glossiness and reduce it to about 0.7 here, and I'm gonna move closer my sphere because I want to have that reflection seen actually here, and probably I'm going to reduce the amount of reflection because it reflects too much and it makes the whole texture kind of look too shiny, too fake. So the control for reflect is right here, so I'm going to reduce it maybe 50, something like that. You can also control your reflections through the map if it's too light or too dark, so or do it in Photoshop if you duplicate. But if you do use my method with color correction, you can just reduce the amount here to 50 also. So this is basically the same thing. Alright, so let's make a region test and see how this works now. Alright, so this looks much better, and I can see this reflection of a ball, really soft illumination. Maybe the reflection is a little bit too much, so I'm going to reduce it to about 20 and move this ball to the side and do another small region here just to make sure that I'm getting the right reflection. Reflection is always this issue with the wood. If you do it too much, it doesn't look realistic. If you do it too little, also doesn't look realistic. So you have to be very precise and have good contrast between the light and the dark. When it's in the shade, it's supposed to be dark. When it's in the light, it's supposed to have more lighting effect on the wood. And if it's too glowy, if it's too reflective, you will start losing detail. So I actually want to see detail in my wood, and I see really nice detail in this one. So I'm on the right track for making good looking realistic wood. Alright, so 20 for this particular angle will be better. And if we zoom in, even though I'm doing small resolution here, we can see that it's a little bit darker, this center point, than it was before. So this means that this wood is dark enough in order to keep being reproduced. And the next thing that we want to do is we're going to duplicate this, call it wood 2, and now we can go and change the gain here to about 80. So we're going to make one wood a little darker and the contrast a little darker, and maybe less saturation, because my wood may be a little bit saturated, so less saturation. And we're going to ungroup everything here. I'm going to select 1, 2, 3, 4, and apply this wood. Now I'm going to duplicate this one more time, give it wood number 3, and with this one I'm going to go somewhere between those two, so it's going to be probably about 95, and let's do it 95. Slightly less saturated, and maybe we'll shift just a little bit towards the yellowish decolorization of this wood. And now I'm going to select 2 more woods and apply this to these guys. Now the next one is this, and this. Let's take 2 of those 2. And with this one I'm actually gonna go a little lighter, so let me rename it 4, and we're gonna go 110, a little bit higher with the gamma, and a little less saturation. And the last one will be a little bit lighter than this, so we actually can duplicate this, number 4, call it 5, and go a little bit lighter than this. Somewhere there, and less saturation. Maybe like 120. Okay, so apply, and now we've got our segments ready to be rendered. So let's do another region render of this guy. We don't need to render the whole thing, just to save some time. The dark wood got a little bit too dark and a little bit too reddish, so before I continue, let's do some changes here. Let's put actually dark wood here, and let's move the color towards yellowish, so it will not get that red. And maybe the gamma was a little bit too low, so it got it too dark. So 80, let's put 88, so it will not be that dark, that different, because different wood is always not that good choice. And I'm going to switch the dark wood with the most light wood and put the most light wood somewhere here between those, so it will look a bit more convincing and practical. Something like that. Let's do this render and see how this goes. I can see that the yellow wood getting a little bit too yellow, so I'm going to bring that, I'm gonna stop it and bring that more towards the yellowish, towards the original color, and get my render one more time. Alright, so this is how you do the basic wood setup with retextures and color correction. We do more complicated stuff by adding ambient occlusion, different layers to the wood, and combinations of dirt and different leaks in our VRay exterior workshop, but this is for more advanced users. This one is just for those that want to learn how to get quick start with VRay materials and creating realistic wood texture. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this. Follow my next tutorials. This is Alex, your VRay guide. See you in the next video. Ciao.